our planet's diverse. Thriving ecosystem may seem like permanent fixtures, but they're actually vulnerable to collapse. Jungles can become deserts, and reefs can become lifeless rocks. Even without cataclysmic events like volcanoes and asteroids, what makes one ecosystem strong and another weak in the face of change? The answer to a large extent is biodiversity. Biodiversity is built out of three intertwined features: ecosystem diversity, species diversities, and genetic diversity. The more intertwining there is between these features is denser and more resilient the weave becomes. Take the Amazon rainforest, one of the most biodiverse regions on Earth. Due to its complex ecosystem, huge mix of species, and genetic variety within those species. Here are jungle liana veins which crawl up from the forest floor of the canopy, intertwining with tree tops and growing thick, wooded stems that support those towering trees. Helped along by the vines, trees provide the seeds. Fruits and leaves are herbivores such as the topper and agouti, which disperse their seeds throughout the forest so they can grow. Leftovers are consumed by millions of insects that decompose and recycle nutrients to create rich soil. The rainforest is a huge system filled with many smaller systems like this, each packed with interconnected species. Every link provides stability to the next, strengthening biodiversity's weave. The weave is further reinforced by the genetic biodiversity within individual species, which allows them to cope with changes. Species that lack genetic biodiversity due to isolation or low population numbers are much more vulnerable or fluctuate, caused by climate change, disease, or habits fragmentation. Whenever a species disappears because of its weakened gene pool, a knot is untied and part of these disintegrate. So what if we were to remove one species from the rainforest? Would the ecosystem fall apart? Probably not. The volume of species, their genetic diversity, and the complexity of the ecosystem from such rich biodiversity in these forests that one species gap in the weave won't cause any unravel. The forest can stay resilient and recover from change, but that's not true in every case. In some environments, taking away just one important component can undermine the entire system. Take coral reefs for instance. Many organisms in a reef are dependent to the coral. It provides their microhabitats, shelter, and breeding frogs. For thousands of species of fish, crustaceans, and mollusks, corals are also interdependent relationship with fungi and bacteria. The coral itself is a loom that allows a tangled net of biodiversity to be woven that makes coral a keystone organism, one that many others depend on for their survival. So what happens when destructive fishing practices, pollution in the ocean, acidification, weaken corals, or even kill it altogether? Exactly what you might think. The loss of these keystone species leaves its dependents at a loss too, threatening the entire fabric of the reef's ecosystem. Species and genetic diversity together form a complex, tangled weave of biodiversity that is vital for the survival of organisms on Earth. We humans are woven into this diversity too. When just a few strands are lost, our own well-being is threatened. Cut too many links and we risk unrevealing it all. What the future brings is unpredictable, but biodiversity can give us insurance policy, Earth's own safety survivals to safeguard our survival. The spider monkey is an unwitting climate activist. Large fruit eaters such as this one spread the seeds of tropical hardwood trees and they're done helping to build by forest, with absorbed carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And this is just one of perhaps millions of interactions that guarantee a healthy and functioning planet. Humans love spent hundreds of years documenting life on Earth, and we have a catalog of around 1.6 million species. However, there are many 7 or 8 millions that we don't yet know about. We have a good idea of the large animals such as mammals and birds. Even some of these what we've missed, and the smaller you go, the more species there are left to find. As the human impacts on the planet intensifies, Scientists fear that many species could be lost before we even discover them. So, so what is important that we protect our planet's biodiversity? When we think of protecting wildlife, we tend to picture the superstars. But the organisms that do most of the work keeping our planets healthy are the unglamorous ones. This biodiversity provides us with the food we eat. From the microorganisms that enrich the soil where we grow our crops, to the pollinators who gave us fruits and nuts, and the fish that we are main source of animals' protein for around 1 billion people. Many of our medicines originate from plants and fungi, and many more may lie undercovered. In remote corners of the world, for instance, there's fungus that grows on the fur of sloths that would help treat some forms of cancer. The natural world shelters and protect us too. Trees and shrubs protect our homes. The coral reefs and moss shield our coastlines from storm. And all that is not to mention the great spiritual and cultural value that nature holds for human beings and would offer. But despite the overwhelming benefit of a healthy planet, many human actions are destroy biodiversity. Changes of habitats of grazing, mining, and crop production, including the use of harmful fertilizers, have had a huge impact on land and sea. We hunt animals for meat and prize body parts. More than 300 mammal species risk being consumed to extinction. And then there's climate change. This affects the whole world, putting huge pressure on wildlife. In 2016 and 2017, half the corals in the Great Barrier Reef died as a result of the warming of the seas. So what must we do now? To slow down the crisis we are faced with, in addition to cutting our carbon emissions, we must find ways of using land and water that cause the least damage of nature, leaving enough space for natural habitats to thrive. We must urgently protect the so-called biodiversity hotspots. But equally, we should be regulating biodiversity wherever we can. Sometimes it is simple as giving plants and animals the space they need to succeed, and sometimes they need hands to manage from humans. In 2020, with the help of reintroduction experts in the south of England, white-stocked chicks hatched for the first time in 600 years. Hands-on management was also critical to restoring the population of mountain gorillas. In the Virunga National Park in Central Africa, this included using a proportion of the money raised through tourism to help human communities grow with their animal neighbors. We must provide pathway for global development that works with rather than against nature. And we need to give the community affected a seat of the table. The benefits provided by nature are incomprehensible for making human life both possible and worth living. We need all the riches of our living planet to help us live healthy, happy lives long into the future.